Good evening. Before we start, could everybody just turn your phones off or put it on like airplane mode? Life jackets in the seat in front of you. Affix your own oxygen mask before helping others. Ooh, that sounds like the first line of a poem. Oh wow, a really bad poem. Yeah, no, it's terrible. Thank you for coming. Welcome to our 10th Creative Future Writers Awards showcase. We have a really great lineup tonight to celebrate 12 talented and diverse writers who I think you'll hear a lot more from in the future. Tonight is a culmination of a year-long project which happened with the support of many people, and unfortunately I don't have time to mention them all. I would like to thank our funders, Arts Council England and the Amazon Literary Partnership, and the very amazing prizes were provided by the Literary Consultancy, Poetry School, Faber Academy, Curtis Brown Creative, Poetry Society, the Society of Authors, Ms. Lexia, Jericho Writers, the Writing Coach, there's a lot of prizes, Writing Magazine, the Writers and Artists Yearbook, and Writing HQ. I'd also like to thank our judges, Nina Mingya Powles and Wayne Holloway-Smith, as well as Aki Schultz from the Literary Consultancy, Jennifer Kerslake from Curtis Brown Creative, Joey Connolly from Faber Academy, and Maryam Hessavi from Poetry School. It's also an honor once again to hold this event as part of the London Literature Festival, and thanks to the Southbank Center for giving us this amazing space. And finally, and not at all least, I would really like to thank all 1,300 writers who entered this year's competition. Having read each and every entry, I can really say how much we enjoyed reading your work and how difficult it was to choose the award winners that you will hear from tonight. Creative Future and the Writers Award were established because the literary world can feel at times the preserve of the privileged, and getting a foot in the door can feel harder than ever. Despite that, we're very proud that a third of our past winners have now published books, and we have no doubt that more are on the way. At Creative Future, we strongly believe that if the world of literature does not reflect our diverse population, people will feel excluded, disenfranchised, and ignored. It's vital for both readers and writers that we see ourselves on the page and that we gain insights into each other's lives. At Creative Future, we're constantly working to create opportunities for people who may feel restricted by their life circumstances, and these awards are just one part of that work, to showcase talent and provide a platform for their voices. Thanks for coming out tonight to support them, and we hope you can support next year's winners by buying one of our anthologies or make a donation. I'd like now to hand over to one of our hosts and judges, Nina Mingya Powles, who will introduce some of our winners, along with Judge Wayne Holloway-Smith, who will introduce the rest. Please welcome Nina Mingya Powles.
Wow, thank you so much, Matt. And thank you all of you. It's really exciting to get to celebrate with all of you. It's my first time being a judge and also my first time coming along to the awards ceremony. So it's really special to see the Creative Future community grow even more. And I'm really excited to hear everyone read. So I will introduce our first reader, who is Jay Mitra. Jay Mitra is a British Indian punk poet, slam champion, and freelance journalist from Yorkshire. Their poetry has been published in Acumen Poetry, Drawn to the Light Press, Street Cake Magazine, and Broken Sleep Books' Queer Icons Anthology. Jay has been featured on BBC Radio 6 and has also performed in the BBC's Contain Strong Language Festival, Hit the Ode, Leeds Lit Fest, Manchester Pride, and Manchester Punk Festival. So please welcome Jay.
Good evening, everyone. It's a real honour to be here, and thank you for sharing this moment with me. I'm Jay Mitra. Normally, I'm a poet, but I submitted some creative nonfiction, and I won an award, so you're going to get to hear some of that. I wrote this personal essay on transness, desirability politics, and pretty privilege. So it's kind of exploring the intersections of that. I've only got about 500 words, so you're going to have to read the rest in the anthology, I'm afraid. This one's called I Liked the Way the World Looked at Me When I Was in the Closet. I don't think many people would recognize me if they met the girl I was 3 years back. In fact, one of my current friends didn't. The first time we had a proper conversation was in the final year of university, at a student paper meeting for the music section. As the editor wrapped up and the meeting disbanded, I made eye contact with a tall girl standing nearby. She was new, incredibly gorgeous, and smiling at me. "Have you written for them before?" she said, as we descended the spiral staircase. I told her yes, mentioned the articles I'd written, the free gigs I'd gone to, the moderately famous musicians I'd interviewed. I'd like to say I was being encouraging, but I think I was just trying to impress her. I felt like I'd met her someplace else before, recognized her clear tan skin, dimpled smile, and fluffy dark brown afro. We decided to skip the post-meeting drinks and head off, soon realizing, after a brief, awkward silence, that we were walking back home the same way. As the wind nailed our puffer jackets to our chest, I asked her for her number. We quickly became friends, and one evening, sitting in my room, faces lit with the honeyed light from my sunset lamp, we came to the realization that in 2019, we'd both lived in the worst student halls Manchester had to offer. Oak House. I showed her a picture of me back then, and her eyes widened. "Wait," she said, grabbing my phone to look closer. "I remember you." She looked back at me in disbelief, like she couldn't quite comprehend that I, with my bound chest, short hair in the awkward growing out phase, and bare face, was the same person as the girl in the picture. I remember because I was like, damn. I laughed, but it felt empty. I wish you still saw me that way, I thought. While I didn't blame my friend for not recognizing me, I was torn inside. A part of me longed for her to feel the same attraction she felt to my femme self. And another was glad because her seeing me as an entirely new person reaffirmed that I was an entirely new person. I'm trans, but now I feel very average looking. Before I put my phone away, I took one last look at the picture I showed her. I'm standing in front of Oak House's infamously ugly lime green walls. Thick black hair tumbles to my waist. My brows are thin, arched, and my full lips are painted a glossy red. I'm wearing a black miniskirt and a low-cut top. Back then, I had desperately wanted to emulate a 90s Angelina Jolie, a woman every human being on earth seemed to be attracted to. A woman I certainly was attracted to. Look at like her and you could have your pick of the bunch. So that's what I tried to do. Plucked my thick Asian brows thin. Sculpted shadows into my face to mimic her high cheekbones. But it was never really me. I was pretending I was empowered when really I was catering to the male gaze. But the idea of the male gaze gets a lot more complicated when you factor in transness and bisexuality. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm the other host. It's a bit weird, isn't it? I don't know, it feels like, like an actual award ceremony. But it's strange to have Judge in front of you, and like Judge Wayne Holloway-Smith sounds like, I'm not comfortable with it. But I am grateful to have been allowed to judge and trusted with judging this competition, and it was hard and fun and inspiring. It was really great to see, or like to get the feel of like emerging talent, you know, like where I think when I was asked to say stuff about, you had to write a little thing about this, you know, the judging process, and I was saying I like bands when it's their like first EP, do you know what I mean? And I like actors in their first movies, and like when you can just see that there's the hunger and excitement and the rawness of the talent, and that's very much what I think a lot of the judging panel was experiencing. So I'm really grateful for that. I'm going to just introduce initially the bronze for creative non-fiction. So Samreen Faria began writing in theatre. In 2006, she was one of the 50 writers to be selected for the BBC's Royal Court 50 celebration. Her play, I Will Find You, was shortlisted for the 2007 Amnesty Ice and Fire Awards and longlisted for the 2008 Bruntwood Prize. In 2008, she made a short film, Red Rabbit Run, with the Hitchcock Film Fund and the NFT Festival. After taking a break to raise a family, Samreen signed up to the creative writing program. Sand Swimming is her first short story. Please welcome her to the stage.
Thank you, Wayne. This is my first EP. I'd like to read a short extract from Sand Swimming. It's somewhere in the middle of the piece. The African cook would arrive for his shift, his white cotton turban tied effortlessly, his shirt pressed perfectly, exquisite against his dark Kenyan skin. The sisters, Poppy and Lavinia, would visit him often before school. He would welcome them with his wide smile, revealing strong, perfectly lined teeth. He would offer them slices of carrot, sugar snaps, leftover chapati with ghee, and sometimes he would even add the sultanas that lazily bathed in syrup. It was then his work would begin. They would watch him crack open spice tins, effortlessly slice onions, split garlic bulbs with his fist, ruminate cloves for their size, and count the fresh green chilies that shone like emeralds, patiently awaiting their grand entrance. In exchange for Swahili, they would offer him English. Every day he learnt more words. As they slipped and slid in Swahili, he caught a hold of English, his tongue keeping each word hostage. As they grew to know their place over him, he also grew to know his place in their master's tongue. One morning, Poppy woke again to the sound of raised voices. She was sad because she was having a good, enjoyable dream. She was swimming in sand. It was difficult but doable, but there was a knack to it, and she had figured it all out. With the lack of water, she had now become a sand swimmer. Others watched and walked on by as she negotiated the sand between her fingers, moving one way and then the other, her body springing from straight lines to wide crosses as she breaststroked beneath the surface. But just before she reached the other side, she woke. Father hated the neighbour. There were many reasons why he hated him, but this particular morning the list was met by Mother's quips and rebuttals. Among the waves of cursing and criticisms, Poppy caught hold of something troubling. The hatred had finally taken its toll, and her father had found a solution. He had been to the bank, he had withdrawn some savings, he had given the money to the African cook. In exchange for their savings, the African cook had agreed to kill the neighbour. Mother was astounded. How could a grown man think of such a stupid thing? How could a grown man act on such a stupid thought? What could possibly have driven her husband to have a man killed? This was not child's play. Poppy considered all this. She did not like the neighbour man. He was irritating. He never said hello. He always wore the same mauve trousers. His side parting began too far over to the left. His sandals revealed overlapping toes. He was the opposite of what she thought a neighbour should be. The ones from her storybooks were white, had moustaches and mowed lawns. Poppy had often felt like punching him herself, but killing him for this. Besides, there was a huge problem. The neighbour man's wife, the woman with the bouncy curls, had a huge baby in her stomach. Poppy was breathless with the thought of this. She'd been watching the wife from her bedroom window every morning, the wife's belly growing bigger and rounder every day as she hung spotless white sheets on a line. Poppy wondered why she didn't just give it to the African housegirl, why she insisted on coming out with pegs, sheets and clothes, balancing each on her tummy, occasionally stopping to rub it when she was fatigued. A woman's worth in her home is judged by the whiteness of her sheets, Mother explained. Sometimes, whilst watching the neighbour man's wife, Poppy had a feeling. It was deep, grew slowly and bound itself inside her abdomen, so much so that she could not undo, she could not unthink, she could not unfeel this feeling. Sand swimming had now become a thing in Poppy's dreams. Night after night she dreamt the same. In the dream there was never any water. She was learning to breathe through the grit and dust. This wasn't soft, white, beautiful sand. It was sand you had to work at. It was sand mixed in dark colours, sand that threatened to turn to stone. The people would watch her swim. They would marvel at the sight of her handling the strange mini waves that rippled towards them all. Some would shake their heads in wonder, and some would even comment on the stupidity of it. But in her dream she ignored them, knowing they were all too frightened to try and make the impossible possible. Thank you.
Okay, so our first poet of the evening. It's my pleasure to introduce Renee Eshel. Renee Eshel is a Welsh writer who merges her diary entries, experience of girlhood and queer relationships to create rich and unnerving poetry. Having completed her undergraduate degree at Cambridge, she completed her MA in writing from the Royal College of Art. Her work has been featured in publications such as Varsity Newspaper, Tipping the Scales Journal, Oddball Magazine, and the Cambridge Cult Zine. Welcome, Renee.
Hiya. Like you said, I'm Renee. I'm a queer poet from Wales, and I'm going to be reading Johnny Peter. The boys in the village school are crying. It's a dusty summer, all heat and sweat, warm perspiration. Long legs plunged in the creek to offer salvation. Word gets pulled around. Johnny Peter, the vicar, set himself on fire last night. I see the boys crying. They are crying because one of them lost a lighter. They are crying because they can't find stolen tobacco on each other's tongues anymore, or maybe, looking back, it was about Johnny. My mum sends me to talk to the birth of it all. His mother fills me in on her retrospective love. He was born not more than a handful in 38, past the girls with long blonde hair on the right of the post office, up on the lip of the creek. She remembers him being a boy when she'd hoped for a girl. A nice, quiet girl, good and easy in her Sunday best. From my admission, Johnny's mum drank too much wine but called it religion. From her admission, he ate stale bread and played with kerosene, but she called it growing pains. She was dead not long before his funeral, a singular ribbon wrapped around the neck of her wrist and buried. A right good turnout on the day, all the football boys I've heard, mud on their knees and girls' kisses locked in palms. One of them, the boys that is, Tommy, sits newly 17 in a pew. He reads the Bible like a textbook, leaning into every word that Johnny and God will say. He skims the parts about sleeping. Saucers are coined for collection, fished from a holy pocket. A single silver coin and a tremor. They lower him into the ground and pray for water, a small box rattling with flames. It's here, you can hear it, a confessional laid to rest. Thank you.
Thanks. I don't want to do this, but like, it feels like maybe appropriate to say, is everyone like enjoying the reading so far? Yeah? Oh. My friend did that. We were all reading at this music festival, and every so often he'd just stop and be like, "All right, Latitude," and it's like, I'm not going to be that guy. Like, but all right, Southbank. So next up we got C. Castle, who's a Norfolk-based writer and therapist with a passion for creativity and imagination. They enjoy writing short stories, memoir, and creative non-fiction. Their work is influenced by therapeutic concepts and process, concerned with subjective experience, emotional depth, and truth. They write for fun and for work, and with a goal to write full-time in the future. Please welcome them to the stage.
Hello. Right, this piece is called Finding the Words. She wears an emerald green dress dotted with embroidered forget-me-nots, messy blonde curls framing soft pale cheeks and a toothy grin. She sparkles with innocence and gravitates towards the grown-up smiles with the openness of a sunflower. Little children do that, don't they? Drink up the attention of the adults who notice them. So unsafe. She stands on the black and white stone tiles in the kitchen among a jungle of legs and hems. Chatter floats down from the canopy, a vague awareness of the children's whereabouts hanging in the air. Playing outside, up to no good, oh, they're fine. Someone puts the kettle on again. It should be fine. Lots of adults, lots of eyes, packaged inside the safety of a happy home. But as the waters of relaxed assumption and trust gently rise, vigilance, usually reserved for strangers and the outdoors, is submerged. And shh, if you listen closely, a doorway slowly creaks open to the footsteps of ill intention in plain sight. He is interesting, a story-loaded veteran of war, peddling heroic tales of machine gun fire, crash landings, and lost family. She likes him. She hangs on the stories and enjoys the warm hugs. His wife pedestals this chivalrous, brill-creamed catch of the day. They all laugh at his jokes, feed him at their table, and leave her in his care, often. Then one sunny afternoon, the gentlest of violent nudges across a sacred line. She doesn't want it, but she is a good girl. She mustn't get in trouble. She floats to the ceiling, watching the girl and the old man down below. Her world is shattered from every angle, upside, downside, inside, and out. It's too much, so she kills it. The death of a slice of her at 7 years. In the kitchen, she searches for the unsayable, but her young dictionary is empty. She wills someone to mind read her before the wrongness spreads too far. But the best she can manage is a watery-eyed, silent plea. She will be useful and busy instead. Is there anything I can do to help? She says, looking around for carrots to peel. His family died in the Blitz. She marvels at the huge tears magnified beneath his glasses and leans towards this human in front of her, betrayed by her own love and curiosity. He helps her with her school projects on World War II. She gets an A. She's a clever girl. If she could just carry on being clever, nobody would need to know about the rot. On a hot Saturday in July, he comes to her school fete. She carries a sloshy bucket of nausea behind her painted face, watching the buzz of Lucky Dip and Tombola from a place outside of herself. She is certain her secret will seep from her pores into the eyes of all the normal people. Her nose bleeds as she smiles and nods in all the right places. When he lies down in front of a headstone in the churchyard, everyone laughs. She wonders when his name will be etched in stone. She must be a terrible person for having such thoughts.
Okay, I will introduce Jay Jellicoe, who's the winner of the Silver Fiction Award. Jay Jellicoe is a writer from the UK and has a master's degree in Victorian studies. They are interested in individuality, death, queerness, neurodivergence, animals, places, and others in their writing. Very unfortunately, Jay has lost their voice. So I will read from their fiction piece, Bread and Demons, and I really hope I will do it justice. My mum was an exceller. She was brilliant at everything, playing the piano, baking, keeping the house tidy. She could even turn a walk on the beach into a vivid memory. When the sun comes out, look for the stones that glitter. That's the sea glass. Even on cloudy days, we'd comb the beach for it, as if searching hard enough would bring out the shine. I climbed the scree, yelling to her while she stood on the shore in her yellow waterproof, holding the baby, her pockets full of stones. She had rules. A hard tablet that maintained her excellence. Like, don't listen to radio station number 3. It has voices from the other side of the border. We don't go there. Don't trust anything you hear on the news. Don't read dirty books or swear or be cheeky to the priest. Don't put the salt and pepper away on different sides of the cupboard or believe in ghosts. And never ever say the devil's name. When she died, she didn't leave instructions about how to do anything, and we never knew our dad, so I had to work it out for myself. Tidiness, I never managed. Playing the piano, I taught myself. Looking after my little sister, Alexis, I managed it, just about. Baking bread. People always want to taste the bread I bake. It looks so lion golden, but sometimes it's too hard or soft. I remember her dipping the tip of the knife, making a firm, confident cross, then bringing out the bread fired with heat, feather light, with a heavenly crunch. I tried, been trying all my life to get that same touch. Why do you put a cross in the bread? God wants it. It lets the devil out, she said. I imagined him crouch in the loaf of bread, smushing microbes together, brewing up original sin, ready to rise in the oven, invade you by mouth, take you by storm. A cross will... Was that all right, Alexis? Was it any better? Now, okay, between us, I miss Alexis. She used to follow me as if she was stitched to my heels, sometimes wrapped her arms round my leg until I carried her. She didn't want me to grow up. to leave home. Had these lovely droopy eyes, a squeaky soft voice, brown hair and curly pigtails, and the sort of face that made all the church aunties pinch her cheeks. She was fascinated with pictures and books before she could read. She'd lie on the floor, petting the pages with her fat little fingers. Our aunt and uncle adored her too. Everyone did. The land is so flat in this town that sometimes, when I'm walking outside, I see the topsails of a ship come over the rooftops, swinging down a canal nearby and out to sea. And no matter how many times I see it, I always jump. It's like being surprised by a mountain on the street. My mum told me there are waves in the world that are so huge they pull the ocean back. Sometimes I dream the sea disappears like silence before a gunshot, and I shelter in a tower surrounded by a massive sonic boom, a cracking noise that shakes the walls and brings the stones tumbling down, and they all glitter. Thank you.
Next up we've got Charlotte Murray, who's from West Yorkshire. She won second place in the EHP Barnard Poetry Prize in 2023, in Bangor Literary Journal's 40 Words Competition 2021, and in the East Riding Festival of Words Poetry Competition 2021. It was a good year, wasn't it, 2021? Her poems appear in Lucent Dreaming, Celestite Poetry, and various anthologies including Mancunian Ways and Dear Life. Her pamphlet was longlisted for the Frostfire First Pamphlet Award in 2023. She's a member of Hive Poetry Collective and works as a university archivist. Please welcome her to the stage.
Hello, I'm Charlotte Murray. I'd like to thank the judges for choosing this poem as the Silver Prize winner. It's great to be here. This poem was the result of an exercise that I did with Hive Poetry Collective based in Sheffield. And for anyone who doesn't have an anthology, it's shaped like a house, which took longer to do than the actual writing of the words. So this is Cross Stitch House. The outline turns out fine. Solid, upright walls, like a line of ants, single-minded, uncompromising, crowned by a red roof straight from a seaside postcard. But when I start the kitchen, dark strands snarl, a knot of a kettle, an uneven shape twitching by the oven that can't decide if it's cat or dog. I stitch fixtures in the wrong colour, smoke grey instead of white, threaded with grimy pallor. The sunflowers on the sill are fledgling flames, the opening page of a disaster. I don't attempt occupants, can't trust features, expressions, postures. Thank you.
Me again, but I'm not reading the next one. Our next reader is Bethany Handley. Bethany is a Welsh disabled writer, editor and activist. Her work has been published in Poetry, Poetry Wales, The Welsh Agenda, and on the Poetry Foundation, to name a few. She has worked with the BBC, the Institute of Welsh Affairs, and many media and third sector organisations to challenge the barriers disabled people experience. Bethany is one of the writers representing Wales 2023 to 2024 with Literature Wales. She ran Write Back, a writing retreat for Welsh disabled writers, and she is editing an anthology of Welsh disabled writers. Let's welcome Bethany.
This is the National Trust's bomb disposal squad. I'm shooting out gravel as I pick up speed. I smile at a lady in her 60s wearing a floral tea dress as I move to give her space. She smiles back, says, "Looks like you're having fun." What do I expect her to say? "Hello, lovely weather." I crave walker-to-walker small talk rather than comments on my wheels. There's something about seeing a young wheelchair user that unsettles people. My joy evokes non-disabled people's pity and thoughts on their own mortality. My existence commands jokes and comments that comfort them, as apparently it's unnatural to see a young person sitting down. It's my first time being outside since my hospital admission. It's 3 weeks since I thought I was going to die. Lying in bed, watching water evaporate off the flat concrete roof of the hospital, I imagined the power of rolling downhill, moving without pain or restriction, just guided by the wind and the forces operating on my flesh, bone, and metal, as I move on wheels like a seed being dispersed by the wind. The stairs tower over the grounds like treacherous mountain peaks, each one steeper and more uneven than the one before. I ask if there's a lift, and the volunteer shakes her head. "Not in a grand house like this." A visitor standing nearby, leaning on her walking stick, agrees. "Yes, you wouldn't want to ruin a grand house like this." I'm not that bothered about entering the house. I'm here for the famously accessible National Trust pass, not to gain insight into another lord's privileged life. I pop a wheelie, ready to head back towards the lake. Hang on, another volunteer has appeared. We have a new stair climber we're dying to try out. You can stay in your chair. Another volunteer walks out of the house saying, "Have you asked her if we can take a picture?" Soon there's a small army of elderly volunteers dragging a huge machine that looks like a repurposed bomb disposal machine past the other visitors and out of the doors of the National Trust property. Slowly and clunkily, they guide the machine down the steps towards me at the bottom where a ramp is pulled out. The most authoritative of the volunteers asks me to face away from them as she places a large metal hook on the back of my wheelchair. She presses a button, and the hook pulls me backwards up the ramp until I'm sitting in my wheelchair on a platform in the machine. They quickly place a seatbelt around my waist, loop straps around the frame of my wheelchair. I'm a trebuchet, about to be fired over the battlements. An audience has appeared, gaping and grinning as the machine groans, pulling me up uneven step by uneven step, swirling me side to side as if trying to read my tea leaves. Calls of "marvellous, just marvellous" are rising from the crowd. The maybe manager is issuing instructions to her army of volunteers, showing them how to keep me secured in my place. She looks down at me and asks whether she should ask the audience to disperse. I feel too guilty to say yes. Besides, I'm being reluctantly carried up the stairs by a real-life transformer, the audience the least of my concern. One of the older ladies shouts up at me as I hang at a precarious angle over the stone steps. "Is that fun?" I glare back. "I think she'd rather be walking," my mum replies. Another of my spectators asks for the second time, "Is that comfortable?" Having ignored her once, I do feel I owe her an answer. I look down at her, from my platform and smile. Let out a half laugh, half shriek as the machine tips me backwards. It would be more comfortable to drag my long, numb legs up the steps, but I don't want to burst my heckler's bubble. She may need this machine to climb steps for her too soon. I'm sure other people look noble as this machine lifts them through the pillars in a coronation. I, however, look like I'm being kidnapped by the National Trust. Thank you.
Okay, so next up we've got Raina Haralambieva, who's a Bulgarian writer who writes mostly in English. Her fiction's published or forthcoming in, amongst others, Reflex Fiction, Litro, Flash Frontier, Strands, and Bath Flash Fiction. She teaches Spanish and leads creative writing workshops in the south of England where she lives. Please welcome her up to the stage.
Thank you very much. I would like to read the beginning of my story, Three Kinds of Tears. Basal tears. These are always there to protect your eyes from debris and keep them nourished. I opened the door, holding the kitchen towel, just because I worry I wouldn't know what to do with my hands. Mother, you say, your voice different, rust and a quiet strength. Moisinogic, I spill out easily, like coffee spills on a carpet. You're taller now. You have your father's shoulders, I think, but push the thought away. I rub my hands down the side of my apron, as if to get rid of some invisible dirt. I worry you've stood in the doorway too long and say an apologetic "come in" a voice that comes out paper thin and high. I hold my arms to my sides, palms up, leave you to decide if you want an embrace. You smiled your old teeth smile from your childhood, and the big sun rises inside me, but you stay still and firm in your place. Well, it's been a while, you say, and this small talk, the kind you make with strangers, takes the sun away. You walk past me into the house. I breathe in the air you've walked through, lemongrass and mint. I've forgotten your smell, I think, and a knot forms in my stomach. You take tentative, quiet steps, the way you do in a house you don't know or have forgotten. Are you hungry? I say, and it's not a question. There are too many things hanging uncertainly, and I need no more questions, no more cavities opening between us. I open the wrong cupboards and shuffle and wonder if I should put out the mug you always used or one for guests. We sit and look at each other for the first time. Your eyes, the same dark grey I carry in mine. Good to be home, you say, as you smell the daffodils I picked from the garden, the brightest thing on the table. Reflex tears, when your eyes are exposed to irritants such as smoke or onion fumes. I think of the night you left. I lower my eyes because I know you can read my sorrow. You stay quiet and take a bite at another piroshka. I wonder if your favorite is still with mashed potatoes, mushrooms and cabbage. The color leaves your face. The muscles on your cheeks quiver. I'm not planning on seeing father. You say, each word slow and measured. I feel relief at hearing the crows cackling in the garden. Something to stir the thick silence settled between us. I get up from the chair and go to the chopping board. Like slicing the onions is an urgent matter. I chop them into the smallest pieces, as my mother taught me. I wonder if she's looking down at us, the way her eyebrows locked and her eyes narrowed to slits when she got to know. Mama, you say for the first time, and it startles me. The way when I saw the first putsnezhnik pushing its white head out in the bare garden in March. I look at my hands, and there's a streak of blood running down my thumb. My cheeks are wet. Shall we open the window? I say, just to say something, anything, because everything worth saying is unsayable. I steal a sideways look at you and try to hear what you're not saying. Your eyes are lead. The color the sea turns in autumn when it reflects the clouds and they're dancing on the surface, and you can't even start to guess what's underneath. Thank you.
So the next reader will be Rachel Lee Ming Chong, who's won the Gold Poetry Award. And Rachel Lee Ming Chong is a writer, teacher, and social entrepreneur based in London. In 2022, she received a Let Teachers Shine Award and a Literature Matters Award from the Royal Society of Literature. She's a winner of the Poetry Archive's 2021 Now World Wordview competition and was commended in the Verve Poetry Festival competition 2022. She's a graduate of the HarperCollins Author Academy and a 2023-24 London Library Emerging Writer. Her poetry has been published in Modron, Public Sector Poetry, Where We Find Ourselves, Arachne Press, and elsewhere. And her debut pamphlet, The Red Strings Between, is forthcoming with Verve Poetry Press in 2024. So welcome, Rachel.
Thanks, Nina. Thanks, everyone. This poem is for my mother, Mama, whom I'm immensely grateful is here tonight with my daughter, Emiko. You call it your secret garden. Little landing strip in front of the cobbled wall, behind the quarry site fence. Vegetables take off casually. Studded star of courgette flower. Bean shoots and their tendril curls around scaffold poles. The tender fleshing of bamboo skeleton. And in the corner, joyful bursts of shark fin melon. Jade green rind with mottled blush, watercolour then rain-washed. You slice thick wedges with your cleaver. It softens in iconbillis broth, disintegrates to a debris of butter seeds and thread plump pulp. Our source of perennial warmth in communal dips of porcelain spoon. Your master stock is a galaxy, rarely stirred. Mould in ours, we struggle to define its flavour. White radish and bone float up to surface. It prefers to emulsify under. We've caught glimpses of its composition in your margin scribble. Fermented mustard greens, blood of beheaded chicken, reclaimed crusts of kaya toasts, scavenged from the floor of next door's kopitiam. Each element you found pairings to balance raw taste back into palatable water. An expert in alchemy of the translucence of soups. Still, Your stock eddies continues to thicken. Is it the other secret garden? We see her wandering around the conifer trees, smoothing back the earth over each footprint, slipping behind the shed holding the freezer chest. You follow her there. Her red purse urgent and full of seeds, she spills them into your outstretched palms. We hear the echoing whispers when the soup fat pips burst under our teeth, with each slurp strand of shark fin melon. I have smuggled these across oceans, and your soil is full of stones. Thank you.
So hello, I've come to tell you that we have an interval now. But before I tell you that, I just would like to introduce myself. I've just started as the new CEO of Creative Future. I've taken over from Jane, who's here somewhere in the audience. Thank you, Jane. And that's it. We've now got an interval. So it's 10 minutes and we're exactly on time. So if you come back in exactly 10 minutes, we'll still be on time. So it's, in fact, we're a little bit early. So if you can come back at 35 minutes past 8, we'll be doing fantastically. All right.
Excuse me, I just wanted to check because I had my book and my phone and my throat lozenges, and actually my throat is starting to kill me. Had anybody picked up a phone with a picture of a woman and a baby on it and like a fisherman's friend and a book? It's literally my only way of getting... Oh my God, okay, thank you.
Okay. Take your seats, take your seats. Ooh, wow, you quieted down fast. So for the second half of our event, we will have readings from our 2 writers in residence and our 2 judges, and then the platinum winners. Our first writer in residence is Lizette Auten, who was the writer in residence for Darlington in 2023 on the theme, What is Home? Her residency saw her roving across Darlington's train station, marketplace, cafes, bookstores, theaters, and leisure centers. Lizette is the author of 2 middle grade novels, The Secret of Haven Point and The Stickleback Catchers. She is also an award-winning poet and performer, including a 2018 Creative Future Writers Award. I like Lizette because she always says everything is lush. Oh, it's lush. It's so lush. Like, I know it's a northern thing or something, but I just think it's so cool. You'll find Lizette's work in galleries, online, in theaters and bookshops, as well as in random places such as laundrettes and railway station waiting rooms. Please welcome Lizette Auten.
Thanks, Matt, for being so lush. I feel I need to see that. Right. This is an extract from the anthology. Homemade. June brought unforgiving heat, humidity, a studio like a swamp. The 1st of July, it rains. Constant rustle of treescape, every shade of green. Dad, I can't go down this one. Too fast, innit? Dad, watch this. I am happiest observing. I am a cataloguer, a sorter and label maker. Are these observations worth anything? I keep thinking of the man at the Garden Cafe in Dalian. Are you a writer? Yes, I am. Now I am published, I am more uncertain than ever. I remember when you said that about not having the sea in our mouths, or the river. What do we have? I was born in Greenbank Hospital, long torn down, 5 minutes from my studio. I first lived in the last street in town. This was not the plan. I did a TEFL course in Leeds. China is far away, therefore I will go there. When I was in bed in Darlington, alone, lost, broken, and I did not know this was to be my home, the certificate came, issued from an office above the shops in Cockerton, 5 minutes from my home. I cannot escape. Is that too strong a word? People behind me talking about dragons and swords. Is home where you feel at home? A Swiss cheese town full of missings. I didn't intend to come back. But was the plan ever built for a body and brain like mine? It's not the up sticks leaving, it's the body I take with it, and in my imagination, that's not the body I bring. I was meant to be bold. I am a whimper. Home made me a whimper. Homemade, home, intrinsically linked to who you are. I still don't know. I'm a scrap collector. One comes down our back alley, a flatbed truck with a cage on the back, not just metal. We leave things outside our back gate and they magically disappear. A plant in a cracked pot. I message my husband to ask him what else we have left, but then realise it's not important enough to interrupt him. If I can't remember, why would he? And I could just make it up and no one would ever know the difference, but I would. And I think that is still important. Carries weight. I didn't go back to the writing group after she pressed her hand on my stomach and said congratulations. Carries weight. Only abstract words waft over, the odd one catapulting. Can't see it now. Concrete, nettles, cancer. I feel like a magpie, a thief. The town is steeped in history, its own and mine. This street is an orchestra. Wanting to play cello my way, learn it solo, not share anything until I was perfect. Not wanting this to have to be perfect, not organised, spoiled by lessons and practice and stress, and I'm never going to be good at this. I don't want to be good at this. How much is shaped? How much is innate? Flower seeds. You know what you're getting when you choose them. It says on the packet. You pick one by height, spread, scent, colour. Talking to another artist about making art in our hometowns. Surely I would have moved to a city by now, because that's what proper artists do. Dad said, "You're well known here, but no one knows you in London." Like that's a bad thing? Like it's a step I must take? What if I don't want to? Success is leaving, growing outwards. What if my success is staying? Value. Always back to value. Numerical, financial, assumed, regulated, gated, controlled. I do not know where the sea lives. That's how my dad knows which way is east. Once there were no maps. Discovery. About people in place and how I fit in and how much is too much and which things are necessary and keep me well and which things are, well, not that at all. Do you keep discovering? All of a sudden, when you say, "I am done now. I am made out of concrete and bone. I am done now." I like sitting on the floor cushion that's maroon and soft, and I only realise it's faded when I accidentally kick it and its deep purple underbelly is revealed. Thank you.
Thank you, Lizette. So I'd like to introduce Day Matar, who was the Creative Future Liverpool Writer-in-Residence in 2023. I think that's a good year as well. At Fact Gallery. Day is a queer poet and performer from Liverpool. They are the co-founder of Queer Bodies Poetry Collective and facilitate poetry workshops with various art organisations, including the University of Liverpool, First Take, and Heart of Glass. Day has been the poet in residence at Fact, Writers and Scribes, and Eat Me. Their poetry pamphlet, Springing from the Pews, was published by Broken Sleep Books. Day has an MA in poetry from Manchester Metropolitan University and was a 2017 Creative Future Writers Award winner.
Hiya, you okay? Where's Lizette? That was fab. It was so nice. China's far away, therefore I must go there. Thank you for having me. This is gorgeous and lovely. I think I'm more nervous about this 5 minutes where I can mess everything up than tomorrow where I'm going to speak for an hour. Not for a whole hour, not just me. But this poem is, this is the culmination of months of me being quite heartbroken. It's about grief. It's a little bit about addiction and the things that we do to avoid feeling the grief that feels too large. It's about codes. Because I spent time in an art gallery in Liverpool that was all about digital art and technology, and usually I'm a bit like, can't be doing with that. And I couldn't really emotionally relate to it. And then I started to kind of reduce it down to language. I was like, what is this? What's the language in technology? And it's all codes. So I was like, I can do codes. Codes are habits and formulas, and there's a code within grammar, there's codes in nature. And this is cruising code, and if you don't know what cruising is, Google it. Or don't Google it, please. Okay. Sunset. Cemetery. A solo cricket rubs together the edges of their forewings, alerting potential mates to their location? Or is someone running their thumb down the teeth of a comb? My grief cannot stand itself, so here I am, beyond the desire for love, in red shorts and shin-high Converse, hissing against a tree. It's Tuesday, and a stranger just swallowed what might have been a baby. Is this less pitiful since I've written it? Is it kinder to discard myself beneath the sycamore? In reality, addiction is mundane as salt. And recently I feel nothing when I lie. A robin sends out her distress call, and I circle this carpet of nettles, an animal, disgusted with its own animal nature. Tell me, is that man with his foot cocked against a grave an invitation or a plea? And when he pretends not to look, what does he pretend not to see? His sorry self or sorry me? Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Nina Mingya Powles is a writer, librarian, and zine maker from Aotearoa, New Zealand. She is the author of the poetry collection Magnolia, which was shortlisted for both the Ondaatje Prize and the Forward Prize, and Tiny Moons, A Year of Eating in Shanghai. In 2019, she won the Nan Shepherd Prize for her essay collection Small Bodies of Water, and she writes an occasional newsletter called Comfort Food. Please welcome Nina Mingya Powles.
Thank you so much, Matt, for the intro. This piece is a kind of prose poem or maybe diary entry. The title is Hui, a Chinese character, and the word means return. On the other side of the world, you are waking from a dream. In the same minute, I'm watching the news where they're interviewing a man who takes a photograph of the glacier every hour of every day. He puts the pictures together in a time lapse and watches the glacier change shape, become smaller. He watches it breathe in and out. I make note of this, wanting to tell you about it. We ate fish balls and wonton with egg noodles at Changi Airport next to the koi pond. We went to the butterfly garden, but it had closed for the night. And you asked me whether I thought butterflies slept at night. I thought maybe they do. I wondered also for a moment about the lifespan of a koi, whether I might have visited these same koi before, years ago. The last time I was in transit, 2 years ago, I ordered a steamer of xiaolongbao and a bowl of clear ginger soup with tiny wontons floating inside. The city that had once been my home felt unreal and far away, but I was somehow there again, in the upper food court of Terminal 2, planes taking off around me. The lifespan of a koi in captivity is 25 to 30 years. When I first visited the airport as a child, I thought the trees in the airport were all made of plastic. Dad walked me around the glass gardens to show me the leaves were in fact real. 20 minutes after the plane takes off from the place I keep leaving, which is also the place I keep returning to, I look out the window and take a picture of the volcano in the center of the island. On a clear day, it rises above the cloud line, scraped ridges covered in pale blue snow. In the last week, there have been a cluster of 19 small earthquakes underneath the volcano. The song at the end of the playlist swells to contain this memory. It swells into a different shape each time I listen, always large enough to contain me and everything around me. The ring of volcanoes, the glass structure filled with trees, falling snow, fault lines, and the lights on the runway at night. Thank you.
So now I'd like to introduce you to Wayne. So Wayne Holloway-Smith has published 2 collections, Alarum and Love Minus Love, which was shortlisted for the T.S. Eliot Prize. He is the winner of the National Poetry Competition and Geoffrey Dearmer Prize. He edits the Poetry Review. Wayne.
All right, London. So yeah, I might start leaving the Geoffrey Dearmer Prize off of my bio because it sounds a bit sus, doesn't it? It's like, ain't there like some kind of serial killer with a similar name? It's like, what the fuck is the Geoffrey Dearmer Prize? It's like this dude like murdered some people or something. I don't know. So this is, I'm just going to read this really quickly, but it's called Love Minus Love, which is actually the name of a book that I wrote previous to this poem, and I just, for some pretentious reason or whatever, just thought it might be funny just to give it the same title, or I had the title and I was like, how am I going to, now I've got to kind of write a poem, and just seeing where it went. So this is the other thing. This is in the anthology, because I only write book-length things now, and that seems ridiculously indulgent to give that a book-length poem. Anyway, I'm just crack on. It'll be interesting to see how this looks on the screen over there. Just noticing all the words coming up. Anyway, love minus love can still be love if you hold it up to the light at the exact right angle. Diamonds winking off its underside, same yellow as the fox dead and mine. In the one breath I denied myself, staring down its dragged open chest, its stomach a smirk dumped in a green recycling bin, Clapham roadside. I go too far often. Since I first saw you whip your fringe on the dance floor, I'm finding tumours in each place I put my finger, picking them out of my minestrone soup, my lentil and tomato stew before I put spoonfuls of it in my body. I'm crying at the speed of cars nowadays into every hopeless piece of myself. Oh Sarah, what it takes to stay alive. I can't die well if you're dancing. Cheers.
Okay, it's my pleasure to introduce our Platinum Creative Nonfiction winner. Siam Hetzor is a Burmese writer from Glasgow, living in London. Her mediums include poetry, essays, and flash fiction, predominantly exploring heritage, folk tales, politics, memory, and intimacies. She works in publishing and is a prose and poetry editor for Persephone's Daughters, a literary journal dedicated to survivors of abuse. She is grateful to be a Jessica York Scholar and a Best of the Net nominee. Her work has been published by De Gruyter and Galdem, among others, and she has an essay on the politics of desire forthcoming in an Oxford University Press collection.
Thank you. I wrote this in the wake of the 2021 coup in Myanmar or Burma as a way of processing the fact that I might never see my country again. So this is Homecoming, Reflections on the Spring Revolution. Someone tells you to go back to where you came from. Laughing, you tell them you were trying. Don't you think I'm trying? As if I wouldn't want to be kicking dust along the back streets of Calais, wandering under a blushing sky, to breathe whispers of smoke and sandalwood as the scent of growing flora sweeps the hills, earthy, humid, stretching with life. At night, I dream of air heavy with the hum of endless traffic, children playing games with bundles of brightly coloured rubber bands. They taught me these tricks once, years ago. Now, my fingers fidget to form elastic airplanes, flown by muscle memory. In the mornings, sugarcane, sticky and sweet and sipped through a straw. Fresh juice, served in blue plastic bags along the roadside. Then evening falls, trays rest on top of pastel tables, plastic still tacky to the touch from the long day's sun. How nighttime blooms in tune with cooling air, how home comes alive in the dark. Leftover heat nestles into the cracks in the tarmac, making room in the atmosphere for boundless conversation. Slowly, slowly, the city wakes over rounds of hot tea. First, steaming green leaves with a touch of bitterness, steeped to refresh ourselves after a heavy dinner. Followed by rich and creamy cups of milk tea, to sweeten the chatter into the small hours of the night. Funny, I think, looking back, how tea became synonymous with resistance. The Milk Tea Alliance began as an internet meme, of all things, linking Hong Kong, India, Thailand, and Burma. It evolved into a dynamic, multinational protest movement, with the most simple, most human connecting factor at its heart: freedom. The freedom to explore your own streets as you please, to gossip with friends, to make idle chatter or ruminate on life with the stranger at the table next to you, to sip tea and watch your city passing you by. Under the buzz of fluorescent bulbs, we pass around bowls filled with fried and grilled and stewed delights. Every once in a while, a song floats over from a tinny radio, speakers blasting off the next motorbike that pulls up to the curb. Everyone drives these here, outnumbering cars on the road by a mile. I close my eyes, picture myself on the back of my cousin's motorbike, winding down the narrow mountain roads. Forests line the cliffside, awash in rapturous green. I remember it well. I tried to call this home, but I'm fooling no one, not even myself. A spring revolution is a powerful phrase. A rebirth, a rising. And still, sometimes I catch myself thinking I will only know these memories on the back of my eyelids. Picture after picture floods in, the same streets we walked, now blood-stained, dry earth raging, haunted in the heat of midday. These images became the first thing I checked at night, in the morning, and the last thing I checked at night, until I could take it no longer. Yet when the internet blackouts began, it was easy to see how quickly a country could disappear. Crossed out of the map, the world's eyes blind to the horrors. I don't know how to mourn. You never taught me. Thank you.
This is my last bit of the night. Thank goodness you're all thinking it's a very monotonous voice, etc. Understood. Just very quickly, just to add to my self-deprecation, I realised only in the judging panel when we were in the room, fighting it out for who we wanted to win and that. I only just realised that platinum was like better than gold. Like, so when everyone used to like go, oh, someone's got a platinum album, I was like, why is he boasting about that? Like, I've only just realised now that, yeah, like, through this process that platinum's like the top one. So that's, you know, one example of my intellectual capacity. Anyway, Charlie Rose Evans got platinum for fiction. She lives in Birmingham, is interested in examining familial relationships, adolescence and childhood through her work. Her writing has appeared in So Long As You Write, The Last Song, Potluck, Changeling Annual, Digbeth Stories and Pop Shop magazine. Congratulations and welcome to the stage.
So this is the start of my story, Mice. Okay. You shake me awake, backlit by the glow of the plug-in nightlight, every strand of your hair soaked in violet. I am still nauseous from binging on handfuls of Bombay mix and strawberry laces earlier in the night, sleep-deprived and irritable. I wriggle away from you, pulling the bubbled shelter of your groovy chick duvet with me, but your hands are persistent. You pinch the soft skin around my ankle between two sharp nails, and I sit bolt upright, ready to lunge at you. Something's happened to Angelina, you squeak, quietly, because your mum told us to belt up and switch the landing light off hours ago. I emerge reluctantly, clutching my ankle in my palm and pushing the duvet away. Earlier, we joined the bug bites on my calves up with a silver gel pen. The ink has smudged against your mattress now. The scabbing welts catch the light, glistening purple. You turn to crouch down at the cage, one thumb slotted into your mouth, the other at your earlobe. The Big Brother theme tune rattles through the adjoining wall of your big sister's room, where they argue and drink alka-pops and choreograph dance routines to Rihanna. I limp over and sit down cross-legged beside you, squinting through the bitten bars. Angelina's cage has been invaded by tiny creatures. Their open mouths rootle through her soft white fur. Beneath top layers of translucent skin, they are the colour of red bruises all over. They look like the inside of the gooey alien egg I got for my birthday. Half jellyfish, half piglet. Angelina picks one up, then licks it frantically, turning its little body over with her paws. She drops it back into the twitching pile and lifts another by the wrinkled scruff of her neck. Her claws and mouth are tinged scarlet. Beneath her, newspaper bedding is smeared with watery ketchup blood. I rub my eyes. Maybe we are having a bad dream. You erupt into noisy sobs beside me. Later, your mum kneels between us on the floor, holding her dressing gown around herself. She has brought chocolate milk upstairs for the shock. I am running the point of my tongue across the chip in the rim of your tweenies mug. You are tearful with relief, nuzzling into her soft fabric like a lion cub. I can't take my eyes off the babies. There are so many. I want to ask if you will let me name one, maybe have one. They suckle and gnaw incessantly. I chew the sleeve of my pyjama top. Poor Angelina, your mum whispers, rubbing small circles into your back. We are all hypnotised. Your eldest sister appears in her spaghetti-strap pyjama top and fluffy slippers, toothpaste dotted across her spots. Rank, she says, clamping a hand to her mouth. Absolutely rank. We don't look up. Some of the pups don't survive. We dig 2 little graves in the small patch of grass in your garden. You tell your sisters that they can't come unless they wear black. Your mum makes tiny crucifixes out of ice lolly sticks. We perform a somber rendition of Avril Lavigne's I'm With You. I get mixed up halfway through the dance routine, so we go again from the top. Once they are big enough, the rest of the litter are taken to the pet shop. Thank you.
And it's already time for a final reader of the night. and it's been a real joy to listen to all of you, so thank you for your words. And so our platinum winner for poetry is Vera Zakharov. Vera Zakharov is a food campaigner and poet, born in Russia, raised in the US, and living in East Sussex with her family. She likes to explore heritage, motherhood, and queer ecology through her writing. Her work has been published in Magma, the Madrigal Press, Mum Poem Press, ONCA Eco Poetry Collective, and elsewhere. Welcome, Vera.
Thank you, and soon to be Kaleidoscopic Minds, looking at the editrix right there. Wow, I'm just so in awe of all the readers. It's just immense and such a privilege to have this poem meet ink and paper. Yeah, just real quickly, this poem is rooted in a small town on the Sussex coast at the mouth of the river, and it's a river I love deeply. So I just wanted to kind of plug the two. Sometimes places are overlooked, seen as a bit polluted, a bit unloved, deprived. But I guess I'm river people. And if I can write in service to the River Ouse and all the amazing communities that live alongside it, and I guess maybe all the riverine communities, that just makes me so, it feels so privileged and happy. So that's what this poem is about, and so much more. Mudlark of the Ouse. See how she slips below this town to bared riverbed, interstitial, mud of salt, mud of rust, to bladder rack, brick rubble, broken tile, upturned trolley, signet. How she sinks, fingers wet to the wrists, pulls up an ancient locomotive crossing signal lens, a spectral smolder. How she tumbles each word with a deft tongue. How the constant lorry hum incinerator sky can't touch this. This is how I need you to love me now. Muddied to the knees, so sinking with desire, even another 2,419 hours of goddamn spilled sewage can't unstick you. Thank you.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here this evening and being such a wonderful and warm audience. And what an incredible evening it's been. I'm sure you all agree that we've heard some outstanding, talented writers today, and we look forward to hearing more from you all in the future. So Creative Future will continue to provide ongoing support for all 12 writers as they progress through their writing careers. As a charity, we are constantly seeking opportunities to continue to develop this support. Very importantly, we aim to make everything we offer free to access, and this includes entry to our Creative Future Writers Award. Please consider making a donation on your way out tonight, and if you haven't already done so, you can buy this year's anthology for £6, and it features all the work that you've heard tonight and also the work of Nina and Wayne as well. I want to say a big congratulations to the Creative Future team, also to our Board of Trustees and our amazing team of volunteers, and to Southbank Centre. And finally, most importantly, I'd like all of the winners to either stand up or wave or do a dance so we can give them one more round of applause. So winners, please don't disappear because we'd like to take a group photo. And just one more thing before I completely finish. Is it possible to have on stage Nina and Wayne and Matt and Kasharel, please. We just want to say thank you, all this hard work you've done.